Hey everyone, it's Susan Pierce Thompson and welcome to the weekly vlog. This week, Julie writes in and she says, "Hi Susan, firstly my gratitude. Thank you for changing my life. Thank you for giving me a look at what freedom feels like. And man, what a journey I am now on. Thank you for being such a support to me. You are an incredible woman and joining the boot camp in October was one of the best choices of my life." So sweet. Okay, now on to my question. I have two boys, 7 and 9, and my red flags are up as I am seeing the signs of addiction developing very quickly in my eldest son, a boy who struggles with anxiety. Could you give me some language on how to talk to my boys about sugar, flour, dopamine, leptin, and all this other science? How do you talk to your daughters about it? Do you think that if we start explaining this stuff to our kids early, they'll figure it out faster than we did? How do I deliver this information without turning him off, overwhelming him, or scaring him? I feel like I can talk till I'm blue in the face about how sugar is bad for you, you shouldn't eat it, and we both know how far that gets us. Any advice would be welcomed. Best regards, Julie. Oh, okay, Julie. I feel your pain. I so feel your pain. This is such a hard one. As parents, we have really, honestly, only so much control. There's really only so much we can do. Our kids, just like we are surrounded in an environment where addictive foods are all around. And they're delicious, and they're tantalizing, and they're correlated with celebrations and the best feelings of what's good in life, and we are really stuck as parents. So just down to brass tacks, here are my thoughts. I think he's a little young yet. He might not be. Kids are different. I know that my twins, my eldest, are 7.5 right now, and I'm not talking to them much about this. One of my daughters, my 7.5-year-old, seems pretty completely oblivious. The other twin is very aware of what I eat and what I don't eat. She knows that there's this bright line eating thing, that it's somehow related to the work that I do for a living. She doesn't, but I don't think she really gets, I don't think she really gets it all at all. It concerns her that I don't eat sugar and flour. It was a big epiphany to her a year or so ago when she realized that I could eat sugar and flour if I wanted to, that I wasn't allergic the way she's allergic to walnuts. Anyway, so she's kind of trying to figure it out. The other 7.5-year-old twin is, doesn't think two things about it. With our kids, as I'm sure you're sensitive to, there is such a danger of going overboard and creating more issue and more neurosis than there already is. That basically being not helpful. I have tried to err on the side of not making too big a deal about it. That said, I wonder if the people who are close to me and watch how I'm parenting, especially like my husband, I wonder if they would agree. I think that they might think that I already make too big a deal about it. In particular, I try to limit the amount of sugar that just goes into them because I know that it wires the brain, and that worries me. So for example, at their school, they eat these lunches, which are not the healthiest, but then there's like snacks, which are, ice cream and fruit roll-ups and cookies and stuff like that. And we have the authority as parents to not allow them to buy the snacks on their lunch account, just the real lunch. And I exercise that option. I don't let them buy the snacks. And so it's happened that, they are really upset that they don't get to eat these snacks. And I worry about the interplay between, exercising some control over what goes into their bodies to protect their brains, and at the same time the psychological issues that creates over making these foods too salient and too much of an issue already. So anyway, I'll let you know what I'm waiting for. And with your 9-year-old son, I would actually also probably invite you to wait a little while on this. But what I'm waiting for is when they're old enough to watch movies with them. Movies like Fed Up and Forks Over Knives and Food Inc. and some of these incredible movies about the profound sickness of our food industry. And I think when they start to understand how ill our food industry is, now this is something that goes beyond just them. It goes into having a cause to fight for, and recognizing something in our world that needs healing. In Ocean Robbins and John Robbins terms, in inviting them to sign up to be a part of the food revolution. We need our kids to be involved in the food revolution. And as they come to understand that sugar and flour and all these processed foods are a part of a very, very sick system that is killing our planet and killing the majority of the people on the planet prematurely, I think that they will understand that they don't want to be a part of that. The other things that I have to say about this have to do with the focus, shifting the focus off of what can you do for your son and onto what can you do for yourself to indirectly influence your son. So I think here the biggest change that's available to be had is not in your son, but it's in you. And what I mean by that is already the work that you're doing in Bright Line Eating is setting you up to be an example. And as your son potentially might have questions about that in the future, for example, when he's eating ice cream and he wants you to have a lick and you say, no, thank you, I don't eat ice cream, then he might say, why don't you eat ice cream? You used to eat ice cream. And then the language I would suggest using has to do something to do with, I noticed that whenever I eat ice cream or whenever I eat sugar, it just makes me want to eat more. And I've learned a little bit about the science of addiction and how when we eat something that's addictive, it makes us want more. And I was finding myself wanting those foods all the time, and I know they're not healthy for me, and so I decided to stop eating them altogether because I find it's easier to not eat them than to have some and then just want more. So that kind of language I think is really palatable for a kid. And I think they might understand in terms of if they notice themselves wanting more. I wouldn't go much beyond that though. And then the other thing is, whenever we're concerned with a loved one who might have addiction, unfortunately, the onus is on us mostly to handle our internal response to their addiction. So this is an Al-Anon thing, right? If you know the 12-step landscape, there's Alcoholics Anonymous and then there's Al-Anon. So for those of us who have or think we might have a loved one with an addiction, whoever that might be and whatever it might be, really the onus is on us to make sure we're taking care of ourselves and understanding that we didn't cause it, we can't cure it, and we can't control it. And when it's our kids, that's really hard to swallow because we want to control it and we want to cure it, and it's hard for us to accept that we didn't cause it. But alas, with the food environment that we have right now, kids whose brains are especially susceptible are set up to maybe have that problem no matter what we do, unless we remove ourselves entirely from society and raise our kids on a commune with none of these foods around. You know, unless we do that, we're kind of dead in the water. Our kids' brains are going to be exposed to these things. So, you know, there's good materials on, you know, letting go. The Language of Letting Go is a great book. You know, just whatever materials support you. I would suggest reaching out to other Bright Line Eating parents because I know that all of us go through this. It's incredibly painful to be someone with a highly susceptible brain who's found an answer in Bright Line Eating, and to be raising kids in this society is its own special slice of torture. It just really is. And I think to some extent, in the way, you know, that saying that if you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. You know that saying? Sort of, you know, if you've got a Bright Line Eating solution, everyone around you looks like food addicts. I think to some extent, keep in mind also that our perspectives, our minds are likely to overemphasize and to amplify any potential problems. The reality is that all kids like sugar, pretty much. And, you know, kids overeat and gobble down on treats all the time and grow up to be just fine. So And then, of course, some don't. So there's a deeper spiritual truth here, which is that our kids' tests and difficulties are tailor-made for them for their spiritual growth. And if we were wise, we wouldn't want to shield them from their challenges anyway, because it's the work that they need to do in this life to become the human beings they have to become. I mean, gold only becomes pure when you stick it in the hottest fire. Diamonds only sparkle when you pierce them with the sharpest lasers. It's just the way it works. You know, your son is not going to become the man he needs to become unless he struggles. And so achieving some amount of acceptance about whatever form those struggles are likely to take is your job as a mom. And that's an internal job. It's got nothing to do with what he's eating or not eating, or what he thinks or doesn't think about what he's eating or not eating. It's an inside job for you. So I just want to emphasize again how much I relate to the struggle. I really do. And that's the weekly vlog. Man, I wish I could wrap that one up with a bow and tie it a little neater. You know, it's just an ongoing struggle. It just really is. So anyway, if you have a question you would like me to address on the weekly vlog, go ahead and send it in. I'm at susan@brightlineeating.com, and I'll see you next week. Have a good one, everyone.